Hey, welcome to Parenting on Purpose. My name is Carter Collins. This is Rachel Hudson, and we're here to just talk about parenting and different issues that come up. And today, we're going to dive into the topic of raising boys. And so our guests today are Daniel and Martha Margaret Bailey. I'm going to give you guys a chance to just introduce yourselves. How long you've been married, how many kids you have, how old are they, all that fun stuff.
I'm Daniel Bailey, and we have two boys actually, and we're in the process of adopting our 8-year-old nephew. Been married for 15 years. Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Good job.
2 weeks ago.
Nice.
Way to go.
So what are the ages of your boys? Remind me.
We have a 10-year-old, we have a 8-year-old nephew, and a 6-year-old also.
Okay.
10, 8, and 6.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The 10-year-old is Owen, the 8-year-old is Caden, and the 6-year-old is Oakley.
Gotcha. And so Caden, y'all are in the process of adopting.
That's right.
That's awesome. Has that been a long journey or just something that's come up
It's been
recently?
an interesting journey.
Yeah.
It has.
We had him when he was a baby, and we're just getting him back, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha. Well, we want to talk to you guys just about raising boys. Obviously, you got two biologically, and then you got one that's in your home that's soon to be. And in some ways, raising boys is the same, I'm sure, as raising girls. But is parenting boys really that different? And as parents of boys, why do you think it's important to talk about raising boys specifically?
Well, in today's times, we know divorce statistics are sky high. Mm-hmm. With that said, usually the kids go with the mother. Just things we see, and I think it's very important for any child to have a father and to have great godly fathers, godly parents that's going to teach them in the ways that they need to walk, so that we can carry that tradition on with their family, with their kids, with my grandkids, and so on. So there are good men out there, but a lot of times good men don't like to stand up and be great men that they could be. So I think it's very important in that aspect for all kids to be fathered.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, and I love what you said, the distinction too of carrying it on to the next generation. That as you father your boys, you're teaching them how to be fathers to their kids, whether girls or boys.
Right.
And man, just the importance of that. And so we want to ask some questions. We have some that parents have written in and asked, and we have some that we've just come up with. And so we're going to toss them you guys' way.
And we'll probably come up with some while we're sitting here.
Yeah, some on our own, just that you haven't heard yet.
As parents of boys.
But
Okay, so what's one fun or funny thing that you didn't expect but now seems so obvious in raising boys? I'd like to start with something funny.
We discussed this last night, and I said, I have a sister, so I grew up, me and my sister. My dad didn't do these things. He was more modest, but it's so funny that, boys are so far from modest. They are just, here I am. And so I think for what I least expect is that I think it's funny is that our bathroom is outside. We don't have neighbors, but so I was telling him last night, I said, I think, raising boys is about putting on that baseball uniform, and you got to catch that lizard on the way to practice and coming home and trying to catch the biggest fish in the pond. It's always an adventure, so it's always fun.
Yeah.
I love that the bathroom is outside.
Definitely.
That's incredible.
Yes, the bathroom is outside.
Yeah.
And it's funny how quickly they pick up on that.
That's right.
Like my nephew, will be
Yeah.
like, I've got to go to the bathroom. I'm like, let's go inside. He's like, no, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll just go over there. Sitting on the front porch,
Yeah.
we're like, okay, great.
And why waste your time?
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're
Just do
already
it right
here.
there.
Man. Well, here's another one. People tend to think that boys are more aggressive or physical. Have y'all found this to be true? And should they be allowed to play more physically? What's y'all's opinions on that?
Yes, I do think they're more aggressive and more physical. And also at the same time, I think we should let them be more aggressive, more physical. But before I allowed that at our house, like I said, we set the expectations out there.
Sure.
Just like the Bible talks about in Genesis with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, he set the expectations out there that, hey, all this is yours, you can do anything you want to. Just don't eat from that tree right there. And if you do, this is going to happen. So with that said, I let them play, let them have fun, and tell them up front, hey, if it gets to that point right there, this is what's going to happen. Daddy's going to step in, you know. But at the same time, they learn to respect each other. They know the boundaries. I want to raise men. You know, I want to raise warriors, because that's what men need to be, as warriors. You know, and a warrior has a gentle side, and they have a brave side, and I guess a manly side, a warrior side to them. So, and then, you know, I love movies. I love the Braveheart movies, Gladiator, and all that. Gladiator, you know,
Sure.
Caesar sits there and he's mad at the gladiator because Caesar gives the live or the not live, and Gladiator does just the opposite. So that's a man, and to me, that's he uses his judgment and takes it when he needs, and he don't take it when he seems it's not necessary. So
Yeah, so I love what you were saying about the boundaries, and even that example with the gladiator. You're saying, like, you want your boys who are more aggressive, are physical, to have the ability to do that, but then to know when to use that judgment of when to throttle back or when to use restraint or self-control. And that's what you're talking about, the gentle side of the warrior. And so you're building that boundary for them to run in, and just setting that and saying, this is where you can run, and you can run free in these boundaries.
right.
Yeah. And then we were talking too earlier about consistency, that is hard in moments, but like when they exceed those boundaries or when they pass them up, being
when you set that expectation out there and you say, hey, don't do this, just as soon as they step over that, you have to let them know and be consistent with what you said when you started off, because if you don't, it allows that step in there for them to say, you know what, I got away with this last time, I got away with it this time too.
Yeah.
So just be consistent, like you said. It's very, very, very important.
and hard.
And hard.
Important and
It is
hard.
very hard.
We're learning that with Caden.
Yes, it is.
Being consistent is so important, and we've seen already, you know, being consistent, what that's done for him. And but it's hard sometimes. You want to give grace sometimes more than you're consistent. But
Yeah.
Yeah. We use the grace card a lot at the house, but
Yeah.
it winds up biting you too when you use it too much.
Sure.
Yeah.
So consistency is the biggest thing. Whatever your expectation is, be consistent with it.
Yeah. Man. Okay. I'll do another question because my mind's still reeling about all that, but I'll keep thinking on it. What are some practical ways that parents can let boys be boys while teaching respect, caution, and tenderness?
So that's kind of where we
we
were just talking, but
Right.
maybe this is more the practical of, like, so how do you do that?
Yeah. So
what does that look like?
Yeah. What are the expectations
day-to-day?
that you give look like? What are the boundaries? If y'all are willing to be specific, or like give us a certain situation.
Well,
maybe.
in our house, if you lie, you know what the consequence for lying is.
Yeah.
You get a spanking. I mean, just in our house, I don't do lies. At the same time, we said be consistent a while ago. Even though if it's a small lie, I have to be consistent in that area. And it's when you go in there to be consistent with it and to take care of that problem or address the situation, have a talk first, allow them to explain themselves, and then we explain ourselves, and just let them know why, and go forth from there. So,
Sure. So specifically in the aggressive, more physical nature of boys, and you talked about that fence, what are some of those things in your house that are like, okay, you're allowed to, I'm just going to throw out maybe something that'll prompt you. So you're allowed to wrestle each other, but you're not allowed to. What is that teaching them, that kind of, hey, at a certain point, you can't be reckless. There's a caution, there's a tenderness that you need to have.
right.
How do you teach those things while letting them?
So we teach. We pretty much let them go, and
Sure.
just let them be boys. But also at the same time, we say this is at the home setting. So if you get out in public and or school and you pick a fight, that's not acceptable.
Sure.
But at the same time, if somebody picks one with you, I don't want you to sit back. I want you to try to venture away from it. Try to just, resolve the situation without going there. But I don't want you to be bullied.
If you're asking, do our boys wrestle at home? Yes.
Oh, yes.
I think
We
that's
had
great,
a little
though.
boxing
holds
match
barred.
Saturday night.
Oh, yes.
With the two youngest.
That's awesome.
So
You got to referee them, though,
you
because it will get out of
referee 'em,
hand.
no
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it gives them a place to be wild, so that
It
when
gives them
they're
a place to
told
get rid
you
of
can't be
that,
wild
yeah,
here,
energy.
Mm-hmm.
we can do that at home.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Right. So.
It helps them figure out places.
That's been a big thing for me and my family, because we got our son Fletcher, and he loves you to death, but he is so aggressive with me. But then teaching him that line, because we got two little girls as well, of hey, there's some things you can do with dad that you can't do with your sister,
That's right.
or your mom even.
That's
like
right.
there's a different relationship here between
Yeah.
how you relate to me.
They
and-
don't realize how rough they get.
Yeah.
You know, they're really, when they sit down on me, it's just, bloop, it's just,
She gets beat up pretty bad.
yeah. I mean, I'm glad I'm tough. It takes a tough mom to raise boys.
Yeah, I believe that.
Ugh, Lord, prepare my heart. Come on.
It's coming your way.
Woo. But I, in kids ministry, getting to see y'all's boys, I can say, especially about y'all's oldest, like in moments of like seeing them boys be boys at camp and at different situations, and then us saying, okay, let's settle down, and him being one to be like, okay guys, okay, and being respectful, but also those moments of like, I've watched his peers not be bullied, but like be picked on, and I've watched him stand up. Like, so
Right.
it's just sweet to see.
Yeah.
I've seen him be wild, but I've seen him be tender, and I've seen him be respectful. So it's just, I don't know, I love to watch that kind of happen, that you don't have to just be known as the wild one or the
Exactly.
kind one.
Those are some
Exactly.
of those expectations you have to set, that we set out there is, we don't tolerate bullying.
Yeah.
We say, I've always told him from a young age that if you do see somebody get bullied, you go stand up for that person. You're there for them.
We don't even like them to bully one another.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that goes back to the soft side coming out, that can turn around into, hey, I need to exert this right here and, take care of the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most time, you can solve a lot of things with words just by how you approach them. And
Well, I think too, those conversations you have with them, like even before they're punished, like you reason, like kind of you're reasoning with them, helping them understand, hey, because you did this, I think that helps them in those situations. Like,
Right.
hey, this is happening because this. Okay, it kind of helps them reason.
and like I said, I don't want to sound like Owen, or my oldest is a warrior. He's not out there just picking fights and everything. But I won't. That's why I say he resolves a lot of things with his words, just by stepping up and being that advocate for somebody else. It makes somebody just, that's the calm side coming out, saying, hey, it makes that person think. So. That's why I think it's very important for us to allow them just to have that fun time, like you said, that wild time with each other,
Sure.
because that allows them to show that they have an aggression that they can get out. But that's that setting right there. Now you can bottle that up and keep that. So if but like I said, in public around people, like you said, when it's time to settle down, it's time to settle down too.
Yeah.
So
And it's easier for them to do that because they have a place that they don't have to settle. Okay, so I have a question that I'm adding in, like about the caution, just because I've seen it in toddlers and my family members and stuff with youngins, with little boys. And now that your boys are past the little stage, how do you encourage them to be brave and do things that boys will do, like jump off objects and off beds and onto couches? Because it would be easy in my nature to be like, no, don't do that. That's not safe. No. But you want them to grow up to learn to take risks and do that. So how? Teach me.
That's really something we haven't really had to teach ours. They're very adventurous.
Yeah.
So
They weren't afraid of anything.
that's right. They're not afraid of anything. However, Caden is very different than Owen and Oakley. So he is more of the cautious type, and we have to say, go ahead and jump in. You're fine I promise you can hold your breath longer,
Yeah, encouraging
But
that.
with Owen and Oakley, we haven't experienced having to they are adventurous on their own.
Have you experienced maybe the opposite with them, where you've had to recommend caution in situations?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
I came home one Friday and Owen said, "Mom, I just cut my head with a machete." So I'm thinking, what? You're talking to me, and he had just raked it right across his head, and
So,
he just kept on doing
yeah.
what he was doing.
So it was a machete. It was a $5 machete. That one
Yeah.
side has a blade on, the other side has a saw on it, so you turn around and saw it limb. So he, I'm supervising most of the time, and he's out there whacking on little old limb. Well, he can't get it cut, so he rears back and he gets him a good handful of that machete, and the saw part comes across the back of his head when he comes down. So, but it was just a mild scratch. But he was fine with it. But that's how you let them learn.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
I know that's a big tool, but
Sure.
He definitely had the speech on how to use the tool.
Oh, yeah.
This was just something we weren't prepared for.
Yeah. But I
We don't give them
guarantee
any
he
kind
wouldn't
of
do it
tool
again.
without,
Yeah.
giving them the speech about how to work the tool. I let Daniel handle all
Yeah,
that.
he sees, and I think it's very important for, as parents to any child, if they see it in your household, sometime in point in time, you need to go out there and say, hey, this is this. Here's what this will do if you use this, and whether it be a baseball bat used for hitting baseball, we do that.
Right.
So why not show them the machete, what it does, and those things. We go as far as to take a watermelon out there and hit the watermelon with the machete, and hey, if you hit something, this is what's going to happen,
Yeah.
So that shows
That's a great idea.
that shows it takes the surprise factor out of it,
Sure,
hey, because kids are curious.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Kids will go pick up anything and just, hey, this I see Dad with this all the time. What does this do?
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to show them the consequences of things like that. So
Yeah.
whether it be fork, spoon, machete, shovel, baseball bat, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
And when those accidents and stuff happens, like that's most of Hunter's stories of growing up is like, yeah, like we were out doing this and I accidentally did this. I've never done that again. Like that's where a lot of lessons learned, like in a
Right.
safe environment, where you get sliced in the head with a machete and all the things.
right.
Okay, so what are some ways that moms of boys can respect their masculinity while still nurturing their heart?
We talked about this. I think for the most part, what I recognize is kind of taps into what we're talking about here is just not being a helicopter mom, to not, hover over and control, you're going to run with that stick, you're going to fall, it's going to poke your eye out. Just, they're going to learn that kind of thing, to not hover over them when they do that. And I'm sure Daniel has something more to say because we talked about it.
Yeah, it all falls in line with what we've been talking about the whole time. Let boys be boys. Let them learn these things. Set that expectation up front. Let them know what's going to happen if you do this. But most of all, let them be boys because they're learning.
Let them learn to fight their own battles.
Exactly.
Too.
They're learning
as
those
a
things.
mom, we have that tender heart. I think it's sometimes easy for us to want to fight their battles,
Step in and take care
That's
of it.
right.
And there's nothing wrong with a mother wanting to be, that's my baby, that.
Sure, yeah.
I don't want nothing to happen, but at the same time, we got to let them venture out and see. Let them see for themselves what's good and what's not.
Yeah.
But whenever they do stumble or fall or whatever it is, I think it's very important. That's when the mother steps in and she does go there and pick them up and say it's okay, and encourage them then.
Yeah.
But we've got to let them venture out and make those decisions and those mistakes and learn from those mistakes, because I know it's all too easy for us to try to teach everybody about our mistakes.
Yeah.
You don't learn that way. Nobody learns that way. So it's very important to let them make their own mistakes.
And to make them when they're in your home,
Right.
where y'all can talk through.
Where you can talk to them and catch them when they
teach.
fall and
Yeah.
pick them up. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, especially for the mom, when they're real little, some of it's an age thing, I would imagine. That as they get older, you kind of let the helicopter kind of backs up a little bit. Where, when they're a little baby, obviously they need you every second of the day. And that as they get older, those risks get a little bit bigger or wider, and that kind of comes along with them just growing up.
Right.
All right, another one. What are some good questions to ask your sons to start conversations? Or maybe what's the best way to start conversations with y'all's boys? And then especially with older boys who are perhaps naturally less detailed.
Just ask, for ours, for any of them, to me, you got to stay open with them. You've got to stay involved in their lives, and have that trust, that two-way communication there, that when they tell you something, know that it's in confidence, and you're not here to punish. I want you to tell me what happened so we can work through it, That's the most important thing. We fail a lot at communication, me and her. We don't communicate as much as we should. And when we don't communicate, that leads into miscommunication because we don't know each other's thoughts. It's the same way with kids. If you don't have that line of communication there, you don't know what's going on. So you've got to know that. You've got to be
open-ended questions.
Yeah.
I don't say, do you have a good day? I say, what was your favorite part of the day? When I pick them up in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then they just unload. And conversation leads to conversation, and but open-ended questions.
Right.
We're not, our oldest is 10, so I don't know. He's had lots of good communication with our nephews that are 22 and 16. So there may be some good things that you could share that you ask. I think the question was, what kind of questions do you ask?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I just feed off of what they say whenever I try to have a conversation, that open conversation with them on anything.
Sure.
It's not a particular question that I ask per se. I just it just has to, you have to start the conversation and start the communication. If you never have that communication started, then you can't ask a question, because when you do, there's not going to be a trust there.
Yeah.
And if there's not a trust there, they're not going to talk to you and open up to you like you want them to.
Yeah.
And if you don't start it early, I know it's not answering the question, but
No.
I don't per se have a question that I normally ask.
Well, I think that's helpful, what y'all are both saying kind of together. You build the relationship of trust that says, I want to hear what you're saying. And then you ask open-ended questions that allow them to share with freedom. And then, it's one of those things where, well, what do they want to talk about? And you're just kind of capitalizing on whatever it is that
exactly.
they want to say.
That's how to get the most out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're talking about what they want to talk about.
Like, that's what I was going to say is, like, if you're looking for a question, go to their favorite thing. Like,
That's
if they
right.
love spending time with baseball, ask them questions
Well, that's
that
what
they
I
love
love
to tell
about
you
your
about.
question of, like, what was your favorite part of today, is because they're naturally going to zero in then on their favorite part.
Exactly.
And the revealing to you, oh, this is what they value. This is what they're about.
Right.
And I love that too, that with 3, it's going to open up to, oh, well, this was my favorite. Oh, yeah, that was fun. Like, it's going to create, like you said, conversation creates conversation.
It does.
I love that. Okay, so now that you've been parenting boys for a while, at least 10 years, what's one thing you would do differently or sooner if you could go back?
I think the biggest thing is they follow by example. Your kids do. Whatever they see you do, Daddy, whatever Carter sees you do is what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Fletcher.
Fletcher, I'm sorry,
No,
Carter.
you're
Whatever
fine.
Fletcher sees you do,
You're right.
he's going to do. Same with you, Mama. Rachel, they're just going to do whatever they see us do. So
That's scary.
I know it is. It's very scary.
Exactly.
Pressure.
It's very scary. If they see you cry, which is okay to cry,
Yeah.
they're going to cry. If they see you try to tough it
If
up,
they see you holler, they're going to holler.
they're going to holler. So the biggest thing is, I know today's society, today's world is go, 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 go. We got to go. So if I had to go back and do something, I would slow down. And instead of being on the go all the time, which we have slowed down a lot, and we have our word, our scripture, our Bible on every smart device we have. We get to work, first thing we do is pull out our device and start reading. But at that same time, my kids don't see me do that. So I would slow down and let my kids see me, which we have Corona has been a blessing in disguise because it has slowed us down, you know,
Sure.
to do those things. And now that we have slowed down, I've noticed that our oldest comes in and sits down beside me or her, or whenever we're reading, he sits down and brings his word out there and opens it up. And
That's cool.
so if there's one thing I would do, I would have slowed down earlier. And I'm glad we have slowed down now. Because like I said, go back to whatever they see me do,
Right.
they're going to do. So if they see me constantly tell them, hey, have you read today? No. Why not? Well, I hadn't seen you really, you know.
Yeah.
So, and that's
Well,
one.
then you're almost teaching them something without ever saying anything.
You don't have to say nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, and that's one of the things I kind of picked up on was my oldest never saw me read. And I'd ask him, hey, did you read today? Well, no. Did you read today? No. Why not? Well, did you? Yeah, I did. He said, well, when? So when he said when, it let me know right then that, hey,
He's
he
not
didn't see
seen it.
me.
Yeah, he just hasn't seen any.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So,
That's good.
so that's, yeah, do it inside of them.
Yeah. What about you, Mom? Would you add something?
I think for me, the way that I approach sometimes how, not in discipline, but how when they're in certain circumstances, the way that I, not discipline, that's not the word, I'm looking for another word, but the way that I respond to them. If I could, you know, I guess if there was something that I could change that I would want to change, you know, that I'm not aggressive or impatient or, you know, but I think he nailed it for the most part to slow down. That's
Right. Well, that's both of us, and I think that's with anybody. You know, you hit a certain button, and oh my gosh, it's just so easy to let it go, and instead of being laid back and try to de-escalate the situation without going there. So yeah, I know exactly what she's talking about. I'm guilty myself. I think we all are.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
so-
Yeah.
But I think that's part of like, you know, they'll copy what they see, but in the same way, like we're not perfect. And they should know that we're not perfect. But like, and when we respond poorly or when we respond in a way that we don't think honors the Lord, and we go to them and say, hey, what I just did didn't honor the Lord. I'm sorry.
right.
When they see that, then they're
Right.
like, okay, well, do I need to apologize? You know, like they start thinking about the things they say and how they say it. So that takes a little bit of
Yeah.
pressure off of me
It does.
because I don't want him to think I'm perfect because I'm not, because I don't want him to think he is.
Yep.
So I don't know, that kind of helped me for a minute.
Yeah.
Take the pressure off because they're going to see the reality of,
Well, it's very important to do that because it teaches them. It teaches them that
Yeah.
hey, mom and daddy's, they're not perfect. I have been wrong about situations in the house where something happened and one of them got accused, or you know, and
Sure.
I was wrong. Well, just as soon as I realized I was wrong, I went to him, like you said, Rachel, and go tell him, hey, buddy, look, Daddy's not perfect. Daddy's wrong for that. I apologize. You know, and it goes a long way because he sees that now. He knows that it's okay to do that. It's okay to admit fault. It's okay to
because I think
own
that
up to
like
what you
helps
did.
them identify their need for a savior. And
Yeah.
if they're not willing to say sorry to a person, you know, will they be able to go to the Lord and say, I'm a
Right.
sinner. I've messed up. You know, I hope that my kids will see that I'm not perfect and they're not perfect. So we need someone who is. I don't
Right.
know. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope my life and my actions will reflect that. Ugh, parenting's hard,
it is very hard.
Yeah.
but it's sweet. Okay, well, that was all my questions. But in talking through these questions and the conversations y'all had, is there anything else that funny stories y'all thought of, or something like if you're talking to parents of littles or parents maybe that were discouraged? Is there anything else you would want to share?
Just be honest. Honesty. We request it out of them, so they need it from us too. You know. And they're smart. Kids are smart.
Yes.
You don't believe it, just they'll pull back up. They'll pull the pages of history back up in their mind and say, hey, Dad, you did this right here. You remember you told me not to do this? Well,
Yeah.
3
shame
years
on
ago,
you.
4
Yeah,
months,
that's
and
right.
2 days.
They're
Yeah.
smart. They see everything you do, so be honest with them. That goes back to what you said a while ago with admitting fault. Honesty. Honesty is in everything.
Yeah.
That's good. And thank you all so much for being with us and just taking the time to talk about raising boys. I know that Y'all are both making an impact on the kingdom with future fathers and future husbands, and we're thankful for that. And thank you for your service in our church family too. Appreciate Daniel and Martha Margaret working with our preschool, and my son has directly benefited from that. So thank you guys, and just anyway, really appreciative that y'all would take the time, and we hope for those of you listening and tuning in that this has been encouraging to you, and maybe you're a parent of boys, or maybe you're just a parent in general and you've gleaned something from this. We would love to hear some of your questions. If you have more things, thoughts that you have, we'd love to hear that. You can email us at parenting@crossgates.org, and we would love to answer those or bring on guests in the future that could tackle that topic. But we hope that you've been encouraged and your hearts have been uplifted today. God bless you.